Good morning, students. In the last class, we have discussed about the blood, composition of blood, types of blood. Now, see the coagulation of blood. Coagulation of blood means clotting of blood. That is a natural phenomena of our body, in that if there is any injury and when the blood comes out, after some times blood clots. That is a natural phenomena. But behind that, a series of reactions takes place to stop the flow of blood. If it is not continuous in the body, we may suffer from the excessive blood loss, as in the case of hemophilia. In hemophilia, the person who suffers in that condition, the blood clotting is not possible and the person life is very risky. Blood coagulates in response to any injury or trauma. Coagulation is a mechanism to prevent excessive loss of blood in case of injury. Clot is a dark reddish brown scum which is formed at the site of an injury over a period of time. This is formed by a network of threads called fibrins, in which dead and damaged formed elements of blood are trapped. Fibrin is a protein which makes a mesh-like structure, net-like structure, and that stops the further flow of blood. Process of blood clotting. Inactive fibrinogen is present in the plasma, that is a protein. It is converted by the enzyme thrombin into active fibrin. Thrombin is formed from the inactive prothrombin. An enzyme complex thrombokinase is responsible for this conversion. This complex is formed by a series of linked enzymatic reactions. The process involves a number of factors present in the plasma in an inactive state. An injury stimulates the platelets to release certain factors which activate the mechanism of coagulation. See in the diagram, the different steps involved in the blood clotting. Injured tissue and platelets release the clotting factor, prothrombin, activator, and calcium ions. Then prothrombin activator converts the blood protein prothrombin to thrombin. Then thrombin splits fibrinogen to form fibrin. Then fibrin fibers form a mesh-like structure over wound and trapping red blood cells and platelets, and bleeding stops. Clot hardens and becomes smaller. New cells grow to repair wound site. Enzyme plasmin is released to dissolve clot. Now see the blood vascular system. In higher animals have a well-developed circulatory system so that the transport of substances in the body can be done very effectively. In them, the circulatory system consists of central pumping organ called as heart and various blood vessels, arteries, veins, and capillaries. Arteries conduct the blood from the heart to the other tissues. Veins bring blood from other tissues to the heart. Some of the invertebrates and all vertebrates possesses this system. The circulatory system was first discovered and demonstrated by William Harvey. The blood vascular system may be of two types, the open and closed circulatory system. In open circulatory system, blood is not confined within the blood vessels, rather that is poured directly in the body cavity, as in the case of lower group of organisms like insects having the open type of circulatory system. Some limitations are there in the open type of blood vascular system. The flow of blood or the circulation of blood is very slow in comparison to the closed circulatory system. In closed circulatory system, that is a feature of higher organism, the blood flows within the blood vessels, and that helps to develop a pressure so that the flow of blood is very fast, and that is the need of the higher organism for better survival. The open and closed circulatory system. Open circulatory system, in many advanced invertebrates such as prawns, insects and mollusks, the blood does not remain confined to blood vessels, but it flows freely through the body cavity and channels called lacunae and sinuses in the tissues. The body cavity is known as hemocoel and the blood is known as hemolymph. In insects, the tissues are in direct contact with the blood. Hemolymph circulates in the whole body due to contractile activity of heart. Closed circulatory system. In closed circulatory system, the blood flows through proper blood vessels named arteries, veins and blood capillaries. Arteries within the tissue divides into arterioles, which then branch further to form capillaries. Capillaries then unite to form venules, which come out of the tissues and veins. Arteries have thick elastic and muscular walls, which are made up of three concentric layers like tunica externa, tunica media and tunica interna. Interna is the innermost part. All these layers have got smooth and involuntary muscles. Capillaries are extremely fine, thin blood vessels, the walls of which are made up of a single layer of endothelial cells. The muscles and the elastic fibers are absent in them. These capillaries are highly permeable to water and small macromolecules. Various nutrients, respiratory gases, metabolites and the other substances are exchanged between the blood and tissues through these capillaries. Differences between open and closed circulatory system. Open circulatory system. In open circulatory system, blood flows through large open space and channels called lacunae and the sinuses among the tissues. In closed circulatory system, blood flows through a closed system of chambers called heart and blood vessels. In open circulatory system, tissues are in direct contact with the blood. In the closed, blood does not come in direct contact with the tissue. In open circulatory system, blood flows in a very slow and blood has very low pressure. In the closed, blood flows in quite rapid and blood has a higher pressure. Fourth difference, in open circulatory system, exchange of gases and nutrients takes place directly between blood and tissues. But in closed circulatory system, nutrients and gases passes through the capillary wall to the tissue fluid, from where they are passed on to the tissue. Means in the closed circulatory system, blood is not in direct contact with the tissues. Between the blood vessels and the tissue, there is a extracellular fluid, ECF, and that act as a middleman for the transfer of molecules from blood to the tissue or from tissue to the blood. Open circulatory system less efficient as volume of blood flowing through a tissue cannot be controlled as the blood flows out in open space. In closed circulatory system, more efficient as volume of blood can be regulated by the contraction and relaxation of the smooth muscles of the blood vessels. Open circulatory system is found in higher invertebrates like most arthropods such as prawns, insects, and in some mollusks. Closed circulatory system is found in echinoderms, some mollusks, annelids, and all vertebrates. Respiratory pigment, if present, is dissolved in plasma. RBC are not present in the lower group of organisms where open circulatory system is there. Respiratory pigment is present and may be dissolved in plasma but is usually held in RBC, red blood cells. Now see the distinguish between arteries and vein. Arteries, blood flows away from the heart. Veins, blood flows towards the heart. Blood flows with jerk and with great pressure. In veins, blood flows smoothly and with less pressure. In artery, they always carry oxygenated blood except the blood in the pulmonary artery. In veins, they always carry deoxygenated blood except the pulmonary vein. Lumen of arteries is small. Lumen of vein is large. In artery, valves are absent. In veins, semilunar valves are present to prevent the backflow of blood. They are deep-seated, means present in our lower part of the skin, and veins are usually superficial. Means the veins which is visible on our body, basically that are veins. Their walls are elastic, thick and muscular fibers in the case of arteries. In the veins, their walls are non-elastic, thin and collapsible, thin and fibrous. In the case of arteries, it is non-collapsible and veins collapsible. Generally, what happens when we transfuse the blood from our body, that is vein. Through that, the doctors take the blood from our body. Structurally, veins resemble arteries except that the three layers are very thin and more elastic. In the veins, the muscles and the elastic connective tissues are poorly developed, but the collagen fibers of the outer layer are very well developed. In most of the veins, the middle coat is extremely thin with practically no muscles. In many veins, semilunar valves are present in their lumen. These valves allow the flow of the blood only in one direction, that is towards the heart.